Volume. Boom. And 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Boom. And
it's
3, 2,
okay.
1.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts, aka also known as the Okayest podcast in the Midwest, coming to you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio right here in Wisconsin. Greg, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, you know, same old stuff, another week. How about you?
Yes, a short week.
Looks
it's a
like
holiday week.
Sure.
So
looks like you guys had a good deer camp.
it was fun, man. I think we did all right, you know. It was a good deer camp. Tons of fun, new memories made, some fun quotes, a bunch of deer down and meat in the freezers, man. So it's cool. Very happy with how it went. I'm really tired today though. I don't know what it is. It's like, I think it's Tuesday. It's the second day of the week and I'm more tired today than I was yesterday. So I'm not sure what's really going on here, but bear with me tonight.
We can blame the weather.
We could do that. My kids built a snowman this morning, so that was neat. Yeah, we had a couple of a real light dusting, and it was enough. It was pretty wet, so they rolled a couple snowballs around and made a little miniature snowman.
Cool.
Yeah, I just missed a sneeze there for everybody watching. If you're curious as to what the heck just happened with my face, I was about to sneeze. Let's get into the sponsor callouts real quick. I did want to mention there's a couple of things. So let's see here. Okayest Hunter is running I think it's like a 20% discount on their stickers and actually the hat I'm wearing, the leather patch hat with the Okayest antler. I'll put that on the camera there. I think you got to use code DeerSeason2020 and that'll save you some money there. So that's pretty freaking neat.
I'd say.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know, for those that don't know, like I talk about it like it's this other entity, but it's my other entity. And you know, co-founder of that, so it's me and a buddy. But what's really cool is, you know, I say we give back to conservation, or Okayest Hunter gives back to conservation. I actually had the opportunity to go and volunteer as part of that because 2% for conservation requires that you dedicate 1% of your time throughout the year and 1% of your total revenue to their organization, and you get to pick the organization it goes to. So I found myself volunteering at the Waukesha County Land Conservancy, cutting up a bunch of buckthorn with my daughter a couple weekends ago, 2 weekends ago. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
For those that are like, you know, wondering how that all works or what that looks like, it's pretty legit, I think. Yeah, anyway, I'm looking something up while I'm trying to talk, so I'm multitasking. I'm not doing a good job, so I apologize.
Say about multitasking.
Only men can do it? I'm just kidding.
No, multitasking makes you stupid.
Yeah, that's true, because I feel pretty stupid right now. Okay. Before I play our bumpers, we do... so Spartan Forge. For those that haven't heard of Spartan Forge yet, they're just starting to kind of emerge out in like the social media world. They're starting to work with a couple of like ambassadors, some folks that really are known to put big deer down. I know some of those folks, and I'm excited to see how this is going to be utilized in the hunting community. But if you don't know, go to SpartanForge.ai and you can use code W2H for 20% off of their subscription. And right now they're still in beta mode, but it's going to be launching very, very soon. So for these kind of first comers, you can actually get a pretty nice discount by using the code W2H. I don't That's like we were just joking last week that we're the 10 percenters, not anymore. So Spartan Forge just put a lot of faith in us to help people out. So honestly, like go sign up, please. It's a great platform for those that aren't familiar with what it does. It helps you plan for when you should be putting time in the woods, based on millions of data points that they've collected with collared deer over the last 5 to 7 years, and pitted that data against like collision data, moon phase data, weather data, all of this other data. And they've made these predictive models that'll tell you when the average deer should be on hoof based on peak breeding season. So pretty cool platform, if I don't say so myself. I've been using it. And this is the first year I got a buck with my bow. So coincidence? I don't know. Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Fleet Farm. So I went to Fleet Farm on Friday before the gun opener, and I splurged. Dude, I got so much stuff that I didn't need, and lots of groceries. And if you want to save some money at Fleet Farm, you certainly can do that. The code, though, will work online. So you can do your online Christmas shopping there, get stuff like shipped to your house or wherever. Or you can do in-store pickup. So you can purchase online, use our code to get the discount of 10%, and then go pick it up when it's convenient for you. So the code there is W2H10. You can get your gear there, you can get your gas there, you can get your beer there, you can get your snacks there, you can get all sorts of stuff there. There are some limitations on what you can buy. You can't use it for gas and lottery tickets and tobacco and alcohol. That's a shame. Gift cards also are on that list. And then there's some other pretty prominent brands where maybe you won't be able to use it. But for virtually everything else, you're good to go. So really happy with that. And I got to give some stuff away from all the people that called into the show last week. So keep on the lookout for that. I'll get that announcement out this week. So, okay. We got 2 more to go, right?
Well, at least 2, if not 3.
2 more bumpers. I'm thinking about me. So, okay. Here's one.
In a tree stand, or simply waking up, it's important to be alert, and there's no better way to get there than with Backwoods Grind Coffee. Ground fresh for every order, delivered straight to your door. Backwoods Grind Coffee. Take a look at your feet. Are you wearing Gum Leaf USA boots? If you said no, you gotta reevaluate some things. Each pair is handmade and tested to take over 1 million flexes. These boots will take just about anything you can throw at them. Use promo code W2H2020 for 10% off your final purchase at gumleafusa.com.
Boom, that's right. And for Backwoods Grind, by the way, the code, for those that don't know, is W2H Podcast for 10% off. I brought it to deer camp, and we drank a lot of Backwoods Grind coffee. Everyone had some. Everyone loved it. It's super good. Stunk up the whole house in the best way possible. So that was pretty neat. And last but not least for me on my end, the official drink at deer camp here.
All right.
This is Drop Tine Spirits. I'll just get a word in for those guys as I pour a glass. That was a huge hit at deer camp also. I'm just going to let you do your thing now. I'll shut up.
All right. Well, last but not least, we got Vector Custom Shop. If you're looking for a custom built to your spec type of arrow, go check out vectorcustomshop.com. You can try out a 2-pack, build 2 different arrows to your spec, different weights, different spines if you want, and give them a test flight. Once you figure out what is working best for you, head back over to vectorcustomshop.com and order up a half dozen or a dozen. And when you go to check out, use code WHERE2HUNT, and that'll save you 10%.
We're just saving people money for the holidays here. That's what's happening.
Trying to.
Use those codes, folks. Save yourself some money. All right. So that took a minute. I guess we have more there than we thought. Hey, welcome to the show.
Well, we have a lot more.
Yeah. Austin Kantola. Austin, please tell me I said your last name correctly.
You did. You nailed it.
Yes. All right. We're off to a good start. So with us online is Austin Kantola with Genesis 3D Printing out of Michigan. Dude, thanks for being on the show. I know we planned this out a little while ago, but here we are. And how's it going over in Michigan? How's your season been going? You been out hunting or just working on the business?
A little mix of everything. It's going interesting. I haven't put one down yet. It's been a fun year just to get out in the woods and whatnot, but it's been a little uneventful for me. I've had a few good encounters, but nothing super crazy. But every time out in the woods, it's just an awesome time just to get away and just kind of hang out and just take in all the beauty. So
Couldn't agree more.
that's pretty much what a hunter says that hasn't shot a deer yet.
But it is. You have to appreciate it, for sure. Getting a deer is obviously the bonus, but getting out there is also the bonus to life. So getting a deer is the bonus to hunting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, dude, tell us a little bit about yourself. It sounds like you're a whitetail hunter, so I'm assuming you are. When did you kind of get into hunting, and what do you love to hunt? How do you like to hunt? Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So my name Austin Kantola. Born and raised in Michigan. I actually was born on the east side of the state, and then before I was 1 years old, I moved back to the west side of the state where my parents did. My dad's from where I'm at right now, where I live is Ravenna, Michigan. It's kind of like in Muskegon area, so across the pond for you guys. But so I started hunting probably I remember my first experience hunting. I went out in a box blind with my dad, and I filmed him turkey hunting. So I don't know why, but that was just my first memory of hunting with him. But ever since I was a young age, my dad used to take us with him while he hunts, even though we're not hunting, we're just with him. So tons of experiences with that. So grew up just around just being outdoors and being in a hunting family. My dad grew up in a family that's just a bunch of farmers. He was one of 5 boys, so just it's kind of in our blood, or just in who we are. So I am primarily a whitetail hunter. I would say that's pretty much all I hunt right now. I don't even hunt turkeys, just because I'm very passionate about whitetails, and it just kind of takes up all of my time, and just all my focus is focusing on trying to outsmart these smart creatures. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. I could tell you a short little story. My first really cool experience whitetail hunting, I wasn't hunting, my brother was, and my dad had all 3 of us, my brother, my sister, and I, climb up this wooden platform stand. He called it the platform stand, and all 4 of us could sit up there, and it was like youth season, and my brother was shotgun hunting. And I remember I brought some toys up with me because I was probably 10 years old. And so I'm playing with my toys, and I got tired, so I fell asleep laying on the platform. We were probably 22 feet up in the air. And I remember my dad kind of kicking me and telling me to be quiet. And I look up, and there's this really nice 8-point walking at us through the corn. And I just kind of sat there and looked and waited. And then my brother squeezed the trigger, and it was crazy just watching that deer take off and looking up at him and seeing all the excitement on my dad's face and my brother, my sister, and I. It was just unreal. So from that moment, I was just kind of hooked on it, even though I was sleeping during the experience.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah, that's kind of oh yeah, for sure. It made a pretty good memory and a pretty good story to tell people that my first memorable moment was me sleeping on the job, kind of thing.
That's pretty funny, man. I was getting crap for falling asleep over the gun season. I'm like, dude, I got 2 kids, 1-year-old and 3-year-old. Like, I'll take any sleep I can get. Like, come on, different world. No, that's super cool, man. So you're a passionate whitetail hunter. You're in Michigan. It sounds like you're hunting private land. Is that right?
Yeah, mostly private land up here. The last few years, I've been starting to get more into public land. It seems like just, I don't know, there's a drive to go out and adventure and find, I don't know, new uncharted territories, even though in Michigan it's hard to find that with public land. But yeah, I would say primarily I hunt mostly public or private land.
No, private land's got its own challenges, and I think it's the other side of the coin. It's like a whole different beast, and one that I don't do, but I honestly wouldn't mind, and I know it presents a whole different suite of challenges. But it's cool. So as a whitetail hunter, I guess, what's your professional background with how you got into the business for Genesis 3D printing? Like, did you have a degree in like engineering, or
Oh, yeah.
did you already have a job? Like how did this all start? Like what happened? What were the chain of events that led to this?
Yeah. So, I grew up with just kind of this mechanical mindset and knew from a young age, like, and my parents kind of pushed me towards it because they knew how I was wired. But I went to school at a school here in Michigan called Fair State University, up north of us, about an hour north of us from where we're at in West Michigan. Studied mechanical engineering up there, and within, I think it was 5.5 years, because I did football when I was up there. I was a kicker on the football team. Got a degree in that, and went to work at a place in West Michigan area. Work there still, called Gentex Corporation. I'm a process engineer there, so my background is like what you said. It's kind of obvious when you look at my business and what I do, that my focus is kind of on the engineering side and designing things up and then 3D printing them and then making them available for guys to add to their system if they want it. So yeah, my background is from a young age playing with Legos, designing up stuff in my head and making it actually something that's real.
Yeah, I was like a Lincoln Log kid, and then like some other kids had like Connects, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, so definitely not an engineer.
Don't worry,
mindset.
Connect was above my head too.
Oh man, Greg, what were you into as a kid? Just out on the land chasing frogs and turtles, or what?
Well, a little bit of that, and then Lego sets and whatever stuff Dad would leave lay out, my brother and I would get into. So the lawnmower was subject to some sort of torture, and so were every electronic appliance in our house. So we thought it was a victory if we could put it back together and it would work again.
Yeah,
it was always a race to see if we could get it back together before my dad got home from work usually. So.
Oh man, how many times did you fail on that mission?
Actually, I watched my brother. My brother was a little bit more into it than I was, I think. I just kind of sat back and watched him. But there was a few times that the lawnmower didn't start or a fan wouldn't turn on again. So Dad kind of figured that out after a while when some of his tools went missing, or they would show up in another location, not in the toolbox. And he knew we were up to no good.
Damn it, kids. That's pretty funny. So
breadcrumbs.
Austin, so you're doing the designing. Like, at what point were you like, oh, I could probably design this? Like, I'm assuming being out in the woods and using the equipment that you have and the gear that you had found some gaps in some of the products that are out in the market. Maybe talk about that a little bit. Like, what was the first product you brought to market? Like, how did you kind of stumble on, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, so kind of like what you said, you asked what do I primarily hunt on, private or public? 1 year we were going down to Missouri, and where we typically hunted, we got permission from this guy just because we struck up a relationship with him, and he had his lease for sale for, I think it was like 3 years, and then finally last year we're there, somebody ended up buying it, and so we're like, oh crap. So that kind of spurred on this whole thing. Well, we still want to go to Missouri, but let's try public land. Like, let's really look at that. And that was like my first taste of public land. And so I bought a tree stand that was supposed to be a portable tree stand, and started practicing, like taking it out on hunts on private land here in Michigan. And I was like, this is miserable, and I'm only walking like 200 to 300 yards. I feel like I just physically can't do this. And I was like, man, I feel like this is wrong. Like, what am I doing wrong? And so I started like trying it out, and I was like, I just can't do this. And so I literally typed in like lightweight hunting solution or something like that on Google or YouTube. And I think like it was like G2 Outdoors, like Greg Godfrey's, his videos just popped up and started talking about saddles and sit drags and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. So I invested in a sit drag and a rock climbing harness and started playing around with it. And I was like, okay, this works, but it's missing some things that I feel like could make this even easier. And so I bought a Mantis and started playing with that saddle. And I was using it, and I was like, man, like my very first product was rope tenders, like Prusik tenders, distal hitch, Swabish hitch tenders that just literally move your hitch up your rope easier, so you don't have to like unloosen the knot and push it up yourself. So it's kind of like the poor man descender, or the lazy person that doesn't want to try to unloosen their hitch. So that was my first product that I brought, and it was kind of like a soft release. Like I shared it within a Facebook group and said, what do you guys think? Is this something that makes sense to you? It's made a world of a difference for me, and I don't have to buy a Ropeman, which is saving me 45 to 90 bucks if you buy 2 of them. And so right away, guys were like, oh, this is awesome. And it wasn't anything super crazy. It was just something that solved the problem that I had with my system. So with engineers and with my background, especially where I work, I was in a quality role for the business that I'm in now, or for the company I work for now. And we're just solving problems. We're finding problems, and we're just trying to come up with a solution. And so that's how my brain's wired. So that was one of them. That was my very first product I sold. I sold the guys. And then next I went down it and I was like, man, this isn't like your traditional, like I can screw into a tree kind of thing and hang like my bow or my gear. And so like, what is there that is out there that I can use for that? And that was kind of the next step is, okay, I need to make a bow hanger. Like I just need to make a bow hanger that works on public land, but also works with any type of system, whether it's a tethered hitch strap or a paracord or just 1-inch strap, you name it, Amsteel daisy chain, fill in the blank. So I came up with my next product, which is our little and long bow hanger. So I think with almost all the products that I have, they're just literally, I play around with the product. I'm like, I find what I don't really like about the product, and then I come up with something that I feel like makes it better or makes the system more complete. So that's kind of my mindset when I come up with different ideas or designs and whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I'm looking at this stuff. Go ahead, Greg, actually, because I know there's a delay, so I don't want to interrupt you. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's kind of what we have to do as DIYers is try to fill in the blanks or fill in the gaps where we see it. And then, you amongst a handful of others have come out with some pretty cool products that now I don't have to go and engineer something right out of my basement junk pile here to make work. Yeah, it's pretty sweet to see all that stuff.
So do you
Thank you.
Do you have like a commercial grade 3D printer then that like, are your products all 3D printed products, or are you at some point like taking them further down the life cycle of like supply chain and production, et cetera, or are they all in their finished product as a 3D printed product?
So all my products are all just 3D printed. There's a few that have like one that I just released actually last week has a like cam bolt system like you would see on a bike seat kind of thing to keep the seat tight. Some set screws, stuff like that. But those are just a few products. But pretty much, I would say 85% of my products are literally just 100% 3D printed. And the printers that I use are not like a big industrial commercial grade one that you would see if you walk into like Ford or GM or Toyota, like any of those car manufacturers that are using these huge printers that can use like carbon fiber, nylon, all these different exotic types of 3D printed filament. Mine are just a desktop kind of printers that anybody could buy off Amazon. I've just kind of upgraded them to be able to handle the different environments that I'm trying to print. So it just comes down to knowing what you're trying to do with your printers and then just kind of adapting your setup to basically make it work. So like right now I have 8 full-time printers that are printing constantly. And then I have 2 spares that I'm kind of working on making like upgrades to, or like maintenance stuff, PM stuff like that. And then I do have a different printer that's a totally different type of printing, but it's just kind of sits idle and whatnot.
Dude, that's incredible. That's a ton of printing going on. I got to imagine, like, if you're, having a good, strong season and people are learning about this product that you have, I mean, like, 3D printed products are by default, I think, just lighter too, right? Like it's not heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And the
No,
strength
not at all.
based
'Cause
on,
the cool thing is you can
yeah, go ahead. My bad.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna add on to that. Like the cool thing about like what you're saying is lighter, and the strength. I'm assuming you're gonna get to, but the strength of it is I don't have to print it solid. I can print like a structural like infill is what they call it, but I can change it to be like varying like different styles. It's hard to explain it to people because I know not everybody knows 3D printer lingo. But basically you can alternate the layers in it to make it even stronger than almost a solid piece.
Okay,
Sure,
so
it's almost like adding trussing inside to it.
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty neat. And the fact that you have that many going, like I wasn't sure if you were doing this on demand and you just got like one printer, like, all right, let's get, I mean, maybe that's how you started. But it sounds like you're reinvesting into this business and, being able to, I almost thought it was like more like on demand, like, oh, I'm going to order this and you're going to print it up. I'm going to get it hot off the press, so to speak. But it makes sense that you can literally print your inventory. And based on demand and when you know that's going to come. That's so cool. That's so cool. Because I know some of these other companies have like issues, no offense to them at all, like especially with COVID and everything going on, but like there's a number of folks that I've talked to in the space that are like, we can't get inventory fast enough. Like if we had it, we would sell it. We get it, it's gone. So like it sounds like you certainly don't have to worry about that.
No, that's the thing. It's my wife challenged me. I would say challenged me or called me out because I was doing the print to order kind of thing, made on demand kind of thing, and it got to a point where people were rearing up for like hunting season, and they were just throwing in orders left and right because they were excited and they want to try new stuff. And I was just like, I have over 100 orders and I can't keep up right now. And so she's like, why don't you just switch to having an inventory? Like, just do it at your pace. And that's made a world of a difference because the side thing is like those companies that can't keep up because of COVID, the biggest challenge for me, and I'm sure for them, is customers just asking like, do you have an update? Do you have an update? And it's like, no, I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I don't. But it's just one of those things. Maybe it's the mentality of everybody has Amazon and they can get it in 2 days to 4 days or whatever. So they expect that from other companies. I don't know. It's hard, but yeah, we switched to inventory just before the season started, and it's made a world of difference. And it's pretty awesome to be able to just basically pull that inventory and ship it out to guys.
That's cool. So when an order comes in, you're just fulfilling the order rather than creating the product and then fulfilling the order. And I got to imagine that must have felt pretty stressful. Sounds like your wife's pretty smart. That's great that you got her on your side, man. It's probably, it's got to be a big positive change. And, the whole thing about Amazon and all of that is, something could be, I could get it in 2 days or 4 weeks. The only thing that I've learned in doing everything I do is communication. If it's going to be 4 weeks, people can wait, but they just want to know about it. They want to know like when you order a freaking pizza, oh, it's in the oven. Oh, we've received your order. It's in the oven. Oh, it's in the car. Oh, it's on its way. Oh, it's 10 stops away. Like those kind of like updates seem to satisfy people in a weird way. I don't know what that is. I don't know what psychological thing is happening in the human brain, but it, like when I got my notification today that my product was, 10 doorsteps away, and I ordered it like a long time ago. I forgot all about it, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Cool, it's going to be here. I get excited all over again.
Yep.
So that's interesting. It's just the whole fulfillment process. But so you have 30 products? And they all seem to be like complementary to other products in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm glad you said. What did you say?
Oh, go ahead. If you were going to add on to that, please. But I was going to ask if you have like a favorite one or one that you use the most or like you've gotten the most value out of or seen the most sales from.
Well, for one thing, I didn't realize I had 30 products. I can't keep up with how many I have. So I'm glad you said that because I always was kind of curious how many I actually had.
At least that's what your website says.
The product I use. Yeah. The product that I probably use the most, just because I literally use it on every single hunt. I mean, I use multiple products on every single hunt, but like probably the most obvious one is my bow hanger. that thing is just like, I mean, I literally take that with me every time because I need to hang my bow, but it's just a really solid system for me, and it just can go anywhere on a tree, anywhere, as in like you can put it on a branch just kind of going off the side if you want, that's kind of straight up and whatnot. But that's kind of, I would say, the product that I've gotten the most use out of, and that's probably my favorite. Now, it's not the easiest one for me to print and manufacture, but it's definitely one of my favorite ones for sure.
Yeah, because that one's got like a bracket or a brace or a hinge or something like that. You know, it looks like. So I imagine there's a little bit more to that one. It's not just a single piece.
Yeah, I basically print two pieces, and then I have to drill out the two holes just to kind of clean them up, and then I push a stainless steel dowel pin through it, so it creates that hinge. But it's nice just because it can fold up and basically be compact, and you don't have to have this huge arm kind of thing sticking out your pocket and whatnot.
Oh man, I'm laughing because I have a huge hook that's like this rope contraption. It's like an old rope step system, and it's one of the ones left. And I think my dad has one too. So we're both really proud of that. But it's bulky, you know, it's like this big thing. So very effective. It's just not as compact as what you're talking about. So I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, it's nice that it does fold up and you can tuck it away and put it right on a strap. I mean, that's better than what I'm using, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice product. I'm happy with the way it turned out.
What are like some of the things on the horizon in an ideal world and or like the reality of a world? Like what are you planning here going into 2021 and forward, if there is a plan?
I would say we're keeping our minds open as to kind of like what like God has planned for us. So Hope and I, my wife, are pretty firm in our faith and whatnot. And we're just kind of one of those things, like we have no clue what 2021 has planned for us. Shoot, 2020 was a whirlwind for everyone, especially for anyone who is in a small business. So I would say I'm excited because, man, oh man, there's so many new products released by companies this last year, even with COVID. I don't get how it happened, but like for the mobile hunting industry, there was so many new stuff coming out. So for me, that's nice because I can create products for those products. So it's kind of a nice thing when they do that. So I'm anxious to see what more new things are going to be coming to market.
Yeah, it's kind of like an ecosystem, you know. You're part of the industry and they release products and you're kind of on the fringe of that. So it's almost like, you know, someone releases an iPhone and then someone manufactures a case, right? You could 3D print a case for that and that would be part of your ecosystem. If they release a new phone, business could be good for you. So in this case, hunting products, if they're releasing them, it's good for you. That's pretty, it makes a lot of sense that way, actually, when you think about it. And there were, a number of saddles that came out. I know ones that Greg and I are looking to try out here are from Latitude Outdoors. They have the 2-piece system. So that'll be hopefully something that will be in our arsenal for 2021. But there's all sorts of fun, new fandangled things. We trying all the camera arms, because self-filming is so big. I mean, my gosh, tons of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy with all the new stuff coming out, and like you said, the saddles are coming out left and right. And that Latitude saddle was a saddle I was fortunate enough to be asked to beta test that one last year. So you won't be disappointed with it at all. I've been running that all season. That's along cool. With a TX5.
Yeah, and Alex is from your area, right? Like he's in Michigan over there too.
That's correct. Yeah, him and Kevin's actually in Grand Rapids. I think Alex is more on the east side, but he travels all over the place. So, but yeah, they're both in Michigan, and Jake is the other guy on their team. I think he's on the east side too.
Okay. Yeah, they got some cool stuff going on over there. I had another thought here about like the future of all of this stuff, but I mean, at what point, like, could you 3D print a bow? Like, is that even possible? You know, like, or cams, like, where are the limitations of this? I guess, like, like, seriously, yeah, is that too much or is that doable? You know, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know.
I would say with a bow, I'm nervous to print it, but there are definitely machines that like like we were talking about commercial grade machines that could handle that. There's actually printers that companies are using to 3D print products to sell to like aerospace industry. So there's definitely like, if you're thinking about a bow and making that thing last, if a printer can print stuff for an aerospace, like an airplane, and meet all the regulations that it needs to meet, then yeah, sure, they can do it. Just depends on how much money you want to pay up front for this really nice printer and all the exotic material that you're going to print with. So yeah, it's doable, just not with my printers. I wouldn't do it. So,
But yeah, that's
I mean,
that's
the
cool
most
though, because
exotic
like
thing is,
because then you can shoot for the moon, right? Like you'd be like, well, let's see where this really goes. Because I imagine it's so far, at least from what I've seen, there's nobody else aiming this at the hunting space. Like you are the only one I'm aware of. That being said, I imagine as people learn about you, there may be newcomers or competitors or what have you. So then it's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, how far can I take this? What can I do? Or how do I reinvest to make sure our stuff is, quality, et cetera, right?
hmm yeah, and there, like you said, I think you noticed that like with saddle companies, like you had two saddles, actually technically three saddles that kind of were in the industry, and then all these kind of other saddles just started shooting out of nowhere, really. I've actually noticed it a little bit, few small companies starting up with 3D printing stuff, and which is fine. I'm excited to see guys bring innovative solutions to market for guys like me. So it's one of those things, like you said, though, there are going to be companies that are going to start up and they're going to print stuff that looks almost identical to your things, but it's kind of one of those things, like my slogan or my catchphrase for my business. I don't know what you would say. What would you call it? But it's basically saying like we're all about innovation. So rooted in innovation is my tagline. So guys can try to recreate what I've already created, but my goal is to be on to something totally different that just keeps going. I'm trying to push the envelope and find new things that are just not existent. So that's it, you got to kind of stay on your toes in any industry, and hunting industry for sure. So I don't know, 3D printing's, I think it's just going to start right now. I think there's going to be a lot more guys saying, I can do that.
Yeah, well, that industry is gonna at some point maybe it'll be commoditized. I think it's got a little bit of a ways to go, but I work for a technology company, so we've helped support IT for some 3D printers, some big ones here in this state, and seeing some of those things firsthand, where it's like literally the only one in the entire state, and it's like this multi-million-dollar machine, and you can like click a button and it'll print this thing. It's like, holy crap! I don't even understand the full scope of that world, what it can really do, but it seems as though at some point it's going to be easy for anybody to print whatever the hell they want. And like maybe print a platform or a tree stand or a bow or whatever, right? And not to say, obviously you have to have some engineering chops and know how to build and design something that can withstand certain tolerances and weights and things of that nature. But an engineer like yourself who has that background, it'd be really cool to just be like, I'm going to make this better. I'm going to print that. It's just such a neat concept to me that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, this year I use some 3D printed steps that I use as kind of like a ring of steps for my saddle platform. That's like the craziest I get with it. Last year I built custom sticks that the standoffs and the steps were both 3D printed, and it actually held up. So it's one of those things, like it's doable. It just depends on how far you want to take it.
Yeah. Boy, Greg, what's one thing we could use, like a handle? If I could strap a handle to where you climb into your tree stand rather than hanging a whole nother step, just obviously the step works fine. But if I don't have to carry another step, or that handle gets me there safely and et cetera, like maybe I just strap a little handle onto the tree that's 3D printed and super lightweight and compact, and, there's an idea. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I would think that my ideas are dumb. I think someone's probably going, dude, just use the climbing stick. But no, what if I had a handle? Maybe I would use that.
Yeah, if you got something that can handle your girth, you'll be fine.
My lankiness. Oh gosh. Reinhardt commented in the comments on the live broadcast. He asked, "Does it only cut plastic?"
It actually doesn't cut. My printers only do plastic, but the best way to explain how 3D printers work is it's like a hot glue gun hooked up to a computer, and basically it's melting plastic in a precise motion. So it's kind of like, I think most people think it's cutting, like a CNC machine. It's the same technology, same kind of concept, but instead of cutting, it's actually extruding material.
Got it.
Interesting.
Layering on top, letting it dry, layering on top, letting it dry, and it builds. And then you said like you can change it so it like laces it one way and then another way for cross members or making it stronger, what have you.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, so it does layer by layer. So there's all different settings you can set on the 3D printers for like how high the layers are going to be, how much of the wall, how many walls you're going to print, and like the spacing between the walls, and then how percentage of how full you want the inside to be. There's so much you can do to make it as much as you really want it to.
That's cool.
So when you develop a product, are you kind of going through and trying to, mathematically equate what tolerances you need for a certain break strength and all that? I would assume you must be.
Yeah. So with my products, I don't have any products that are kind of life threatening in a way, like your life is on the line.
Like a climbing stick or a tree stand or a platform.
Yeah, correct. So pretty much that kind of reduces the work I need to put into the testing part of making sure that they're going to handle the stress or the load that's going to be put on them. So I don't have to do extensive work on like what you just described. The amount of work that I've done, probably the most extensive, is I put my bow hangers on the Instron and basically tested how much force it took to break them. And it was kind of funny because I set it to max out at 50 pounds because like nobody's going to have a 50-pound bow. So just stop at 50 pounds because I just didn't want anything to just break on this machine. So it basically pushed my bow hangers to the point where they took the 50 pounds and then went back to their rest position. So they basically didn't even plastically deform. They just literally just bend and then they pop back up. So
that's cool. I know I hung my backpack on my like metal hook that I have. I hope it's not 50 pounds. It would be ridiculous if it were, but that's a pretty big weight. In the comments, Levi, one of our buddies out there in Wyoming, said 3D print some rattlers and some T-post steps. Those were his ideas when we were talking about ideas.
Gotcha. You know what's funny is when I've actually had a bag full of plastic parts that I was digging through. I think it was my friend at work. I was just trying to find a part that I brought to work to show him, and he's like, "That kind of sounds like a bag of rattling antlers." And I was like, "I guess I could do like a bag full of failed parts that I throw in the garbage and say, here's your rattling bag."
There you go. That's an interesting one. I know there's like rattling bags and I don't know. There's like, I would be concerned about the authenticity of the sound to the animal. Like, does it sound like a real antler or not? But I don't know. I've never really rattled in it. I've rattled in a deer once in my hunting career. It worked, but it was real antlers. And there's a lot of stomping around on the ground and stuff like that. But that's cool, man. See, I mean, like you're already getting people that are like throwing ideas at you. And we're just, there's only a couple people watching right now. We don't have a lot of folks on the live broadcast. I assume because most people are at deer camp with no cell reception. Let's just blame it on that now, not how okay we are. But
yeah, it's funny that you say like the ideas are coming in. Like that's part of what's made Genesis 3D printing so like popular and just grow, is people just want to help and contribute. And that's the cool thing about 3D printing. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on tooling and time just to get the tooling up and running, and the cost. You can literally come up with an idea, design it, print it, see if it works. If it doesn't, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. I got to imagine the designing part's not super easy. You got to know how to use CAD and like actually understand different things and like build something. I have a friend that's an engineer. He used to work for Harley Davidson, and he got to design some like pretty cool stuff for the motorcycles. And I remember he took one on a test drive that had never seen daylight before because he had to test the tolerance of a part he designed. And I say in quotation marks, test the tolerance. Like you don't want to go for a joyride. But it seems like it's such a cool field, man. I don't have that mindset at all. I'm not wired the way that you guys are. And it's super cool. It's super cool that you can just literally create like that, like tangible items,
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool when my mind got shifted because I got sick of printing stuff that just sat on my desk at work, or like trinkets and stuff that didn't do anything. They just looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I need to functionally do something with these printers, or with this printer that I have.
Yeah, it's dope. Levi commented, he said he'd definitely buy a T-post step. So at least he'll sell one.
Is that basically to get up like a metal fence post in a way so you don't have to get caught by the barbed wire? Is that what he's entailing? I feel like that's what he's saying.
Levi, I don't know. Send a picture in the chat here. Let's see what you're talking about. I know our friends over at Wicked North, they make something out of plastic for that, but it's like this, you put it on top of a fence and you can push down with your hand without slicing your hand open. I believe he has, I don't think he makes it, but I think, well, maybe he does. I'm not actually sure, but I know he's got one of those on his website for sale. He's like got a couple products, but that's one of them. I usually just make Greg hold it down for me like a gentleman, and then I'm the lady, so then I just take a nice step over it.
I might have to actually let my hand slide once when you got one leg slung over. See if we can get you singing soprano.
Uh-huh. Levi said yes, that's exactly what it is. It looks like a dirt bike peg.
Okay, that's what I figured. Interesting. Try it out.
T-post step. Look at that. Product market fit on the money. That's cool. Well, dude, tell us, I don't know if there's anything else that we want to talk about there. I mean, we could talk about it for a while, but I wanted to hear your most memorable hunt because this is a hunting podcast, and obviously we're talking about gear and products and things like that, but I'd love to hear your most memorable hunt. I know you shared a memorable hunt earlier on, but what is the most memorable hunt that you've had?
Interesting. I have two hunts that are most memorable, and I'll do the one with my dad because it just seems like, I don't know, that one will last forever. I did get caught with my pants down on a buck though, so that was the other story I was gonna say. But I did shoot him, so it was a tie between this one and that one. So, but this story, basically, I was hunting behind our house here in Ravenna, and it's basically private land. My dad and I were talking to each other. He decided he was going to go hunt in that platform stand I mentioned earlier in the podcast. And I was like, okay, I'll go hunt in this other ladder stand that is like maybe 150, 200 yards away. We can both see each other from it. And it was just towards the tail end of the rut. I think it was, for us, actually it probably would have been almost a year to this, not a year, but like to this day, it would have been, I think, 4 years ago. We were sitting there and a bunch of does kind of, my cousin was plowing the field, and then she finished plowing the field after they picked the soybeans out, and like literally right after she finished plowing and getting out, these does started coming out into the field just to kind of see what was out there that they could feed on. And then there was, so basically these does come out, and then sure enough, here comes this really nice broken off 10-point. It was a 9-point, but it was a 10-point at one time. So he comes running out, chasing does all around, and he comes running right into my dad, chasing this doe. And I was like, he's gonna shoot him. It's gonna happen. And then this doe just kind of veers off and then starts running away from my dad, and he doesn't get a shot at him. And so, when bucks are chasing does in the rut, it's just kind of chaos everywhere. And this doe just starts to lead him towards my direction. And I was like, oh, okay. So I get ready, and she kind of leads him I think it was like 46 yards from me. I put the pin on him, and I just let her fly. and just complete pass through, just smoked them, and he maybe went 75 yards and just piled up in the field. Now, the reason why that was the most memorable is because my dad was literally, he told me, he's like, from my angle, I had my binoculars on him, and he's like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. And all he saw was this lighted knock go flying through the deer. And just being able to witness that and like kind of being able to live in the moment with me through that was a pretty cool experience and a pretty cool hunt.
That's awesome to have your dad there on a hunt. And if that didn't happen, right, for him to be there with you, even just be out with you, and not witness it would be a really special thing. It was a special thing for me when I got a doe from the ground with my bow, my first, deer with a bow, and he didn't see any of it go down, but he was there, and I was like, man, I'm like a grown man, and I feel like a little kid that my dad's here with me. It's so cool. So that is pretty awesome, man. They got to like literally in his mind say shoot, 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 and then watch it happen. That's freaking crazy.
Oh yeah, it was a cool hunt.
How about that, man? How's your season going so far this year? Just like I don't know when your guys' season ends and starts and all that stuff in Michigan. So
yeah, it ends January 1st for us. It's been a little slow and hit or miss here and there. I did have a few really good encounters on public land up north where my in-laws are at, in Michigan, and had two really mature bucks chasing a doe past me up there for one set pre-rut. But other than that, I haven't had a ton of chances I haven't really seen a ton of mature bucks, which is fine. It just means I'm just gonna try to tough it out and see if I can whack a doe here.
Yeah. Well, that'd be cool if you could talk to Greg about that. He's gotten 2 does so far, so he's the doe killer in Wisconsin. Isn't that right, Greg?
Hey.
Well, I try. I left a few out there for you. I did pass.
That is true.
So
yeah. Yeah, I didn't see any does with my bow at all, not one. And then gun hunting, all I saw was does. Totally switched up on me. So I'm happy with everything so far, but I saw a total of 5 bucks with my bow in my hand. Actually, I think 6 technically. One when I was in a canoe, but like that wasn't real. I couldn't have ever even thought about taking a shot at that one. It happened all so fast, but my bow was with me in my hand. So I think $6 this season I've had eyes on, and luckily got to seal the deal with one. I did miss one though too. So that sucks. But 0 does, Greg. And you've only seen the does. I think it's because Greg was literally trying to make sure I could get a buck, so he put me in all the best spots, which it worked.
can't say I never did anything for you then.
That's true. You've done plenty. You've done plenty. Take that negative or positive. Oh, that's great. Well, dude,
it's all good.
Austin, how do people find you? Where should they engage? Like, I'm assuming you're on all of the prominent social channels, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, maybe you're on TikTok or Snapchat. I don't know. Like, obviously you have a website. Help people figure out where to go to take a look at some of your stuff.
So for social media, I don't have a TikTok account. Never really gotten into that app, so you won't find me on there or even Snapchat. But Instagram and Facebook, my page on both of those or accounts are Genesis 3D Printing. Pretty simple because it's the same as our business name. Website is genesis3dprinting.com. We do have a YouTube channel too, just to kind of help explain some of our products. So you can check that out. That's Genesis 3D Printing. That's basically just kind of helpful for guys because most of our products are kind of new and very innovative. So it's kind of unique looking at it. You're like, what does this actually do? And how do I install it? So yeah, that's kind of the different places that you can come check us out at.
Good to go. Genesis3dprinting.com. Take a look. I like the way your site is set up. You have your products kind of categorized like bow hanger, climbing stick, platform. So you kind of know what you're getting into. If you just go straight to products, I think you're right about that. Like people be like, well, what is this? How does this work? But if you follow kind of the hierarchy of your site, you'll be in good shape. And then if you have a YouTube channel, back that up. That's smart. So people can kind of get a sense of, okay, how does this work? What does it do? Et cetera. So that's good to go. And you and I corresponded on Instagram. I think Greg reached out to you initially, so clearly you're present there and responsive. So that was great. Obviously, if I was like a paying customer, it'd be good to know that I could get a hold of you. That's always a big deal for folks. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks for your time on the show tonight. Thanks for taking time away. You have a lot going on. You're very busy, so we appreciate it. This episode will be produced tonight. We'll tag in everything once it's live, and yeah, we'll end the live broadcast. Obviously some questions had come through and some comments, but we got to them all. So it was good to hear from some folks in the audience.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on. It's always fun when guys ask me to come on podcasts. I always have a good time just kind of catching up with guys and just kind of getting to know them and sharing some of the stuff that we're working on and just behind the scenes stuff.
It's awesome. Well, thanks again.
Cool.